In the world of Formula One, we're always talking about thousands of a second deciding a race. But what if I told you a victory could be wiped out by something even smaller, like fractions of a millimeter? Yeah. Let's get into how one of the biggest races of the season was completely turned on its head hours after everyone thought it was over.
All right, so picture this. We're at the Las Vegas Grand Prix. It's one of the last, most critical races of a super tight championship battle. You've got the lights, the incredible speed, the pressure is just off the charts. Everything is at a fever pitch. And for the team leading the championship, McLaren, it looked like a total dream result. Lando Norris, he grabs a brilliant second place, and his teammate Oscar Piastri comes home in a really solid fourth.
I mean, you just can't overstate how huge this result was for the Drivers' Championship. Norris pads his lead, and with only 2 races left on the calendar, it really felt like McLaren was just going to cruise to the title. Seriously, it was looking like a picture-perfect weekend.
But then, hours later, long after the champagne was sprayed, the news drops, and it's an absolute bombshell. Both McLaren cars, Norris and Piastri, disqualified. Just like that. Their points, their podium finish, all those hard-fought positions, gone. Vanished into thin air.
So the big question is, why? How on earth does a top-tier team, a team at the absolute peak of its game, get completely wiped from the results of a race? Well, the answer, it's hidden away, right on the underside of the car.
Okay, so this whole crazy situation boils down to one single fundamental rule in Formula One. It's called the Planck rule. And believe me, it's a part of the car you literally never see, but it has an unbelievable amount of power over the results.
So what is this thing exactly? The easiest way to think about it is like a mandatory wooden ruler that's bolted to the very bottom of the car. Officially, it's called the plank, or sometimes the skid block. And here's the key thing. It's a totally non-negotiable part of every single car out there.
The story behind this rule is really fascinating, but it's also rooted in tragedy. It was actually brought in way back in 1994, right after the death of the legendary Ayrton Senna, and the whole point was to stop teams from running their cars dangerously low to the ground. It basically forces a minimum ride height. This limits that super powerful ground effect, that aerodynamic magic that sucks the car to the track. And at the end of the day, it's all about keeping the driver safer.
All right, so if the plank is the culprit, what exactly was the crime? Well, this is where it gets crazy, because it all comes down to a margin of error that is just mind-bogglingly small.
The rule itself is brutally simple. There's no gray area here. Every car has to start the race with a plank that's exactly 10 millimeters thick. Now, during the race, as the car is hitting bumps and riding over curbs, that plank is going to wear down. And the rules say it's allowed to wear down by 1 millimeter. Just 1, that's it. So after the race, it absolutely has to be at least 9 millimeters thick. It is a completely black and white rule with zero, and I mean zero, tolerance.
And so, after the race, the FIA's technical team does what they always do. They perform their routine checks, they get out their super high-precision instruments, and well, they found a problem.
And this right here, this just shows you how ridiculously fine the margins are in this sport. Lando Norris's plank, it measured 8.88 millimeters. That is just 0.12 millimeters too thin. Piastri was even a bit worse at 8.74. We are literally talking about the thickness of a couple of human hairs here. But here's the thing. In the eyes of the rules, it doesn't matter if you're off by a whole millimeter or just a tiny fraction. Illegal is illegal, period.
So you have to ask yourself, right? How does a team with hundreds of brilliant engineers with the most advanced simulation tools on the planet get this so wrong? Was this some kind of deliberate gamble, pushing the limits for performance? Or was it just an honest but very costly mistake?
Well, according to McLaren's boss, Andrea Stella, the problem was something they just didn't see coming. He said that during the race, the cars started porpoising. That's where they bounce up and down really violently on the straights. Apparently, it was way worse than anything they saw in practice. And all that unexpected bouncing just caused the plank to slap against the track over and over and over, wearing it down way too much.
So you've really got 2 sides to this story. On one hand, you have McLaren arguing that there were extenuating circumstances, right? This unexpected porpoising, they had limited practice time because of the weather, maybe even some accidental floor damage. But the FIA's position was crystal clear. They basically said, yeah, we get it, it was probably unintentional, but the rules are absolute. There's no such thing as almost legal in the rulebook. And maybe the killer argument here is that all the other teams on the grid managed to play by the same rules. under the same conditions, and their cars were legal.
So that was it. The penalty was confirmed. A double DQ. A tiny, tiny measurement error ended up having these massive, massive consequences that just sent shockwaves through the entire championship race.
Let's just remember how things looked right when the checkered flag dropped. Verstappen won the race, sure, but right behind him, it was a massive points day from McLaren. You had Norris in second, Piastri in fourth, a fantastic result.
And now, look what happens after the disqualification. It's a completely different story. Norris and Piastri? Gone. Just erased from the results. So everybody from third place on down just shuffles up 2 spots. George Russell gets promoted to second place, and check this out, the rookie Kimi Antonelli gets his first ever Formula One podium for Mercedes. Just incredible.
Okay, but the race result is one thing. The real drama was the impact on the championship. Before all this went down, Lando Norris had a pretty comfortable 39-point lead on Max Verstappen. With only 2 races to go, you'd think the title was practically in the bag.
But after, hoo boy, the whole picture just changes completely. Norris loses those 18 points from second place. His lead over Verstappen gets slashed from 39 all the way down to 24. And get this, Max Verstappen is now suddenly tied for second place in the championship with Oscar Piastri. The whole title fight is just blown wide open again.
When you look at it like this, the swing is just stark. We're talking about a 15-point shift in the championship fight, all because of a 0.12 millimeter mistake. It's an absolutely devastating blow for Lando Norris, and on the flip side, it's a huge, unexpected gift for Max Verstappen and Red Bull.
So the fallout here was just immense. A total loss of 30 team points. And this is a crazy stat. It's the first time in McLaren's entire, long, celebrated history that they've had both cars disqualified from the same race. A championship that honestly looked like it was pretty much a done deal is now set up for an absolutely epic final showdown.
And all of this leaves us with one heck of a question, doesn't it? In a sport that is all about pushing every single thing to its absolute breaking point, was this just an unlucky, unfortunate miscalculation, a victim of tricky conditions? Or, for a team that's fighting for a world championship, was this something much worse, a simple, unforgettable, fundamental mistake?